The ocean has always been a place of mystery. Vast, silent, and unforgiving. But in 1872, something happened out there that still refuses to be explained. A ship was found drifting in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, completely intact. Its cargo untouched. Its food still laid out. Its crew gone. No signs of struggle. No distress signals. Just an eerie silence that stretched from deck to horizon. This was the story of the Mary Celeste, one of the most chilling maritime mysteries in American history. And to this day, no one knows what truly happened aboard that ship. On December 4, 1872, a British brigantine named the Dei Gratia was sailing through the Atlantic, about 400 miles east of the Azores. The crew noticed a ship drifting aimlessly. Its sails were partially set, but it moved strangely, as if no one was guiding it. That ship was the Mary Celeste. At first, it didn't seem alarming. Ships crossed paths often. But something felt off. The vessel wasn't responding to signals. No crew appeared on deck. No movement. Just a ghostly silence. Captain David Morehouse of the Dei Gratia ordered a boarding party. What they found was deeply unsettling. The Mary Celeste was in surprisingly good condition. The hull was sound. The cargo hold was full of industrial alcohol, barrels stacked neatly. There were no signs of piracy or violence. No blood. No struggle. No damage that would suggest an attack. But the crew was gone. Not just missing, completely vanished. The ship's lifeboat was missing. That was the first real clue. But beyond that, everything seemed untouched. The crew's personal belongings were still there. Clothing, pipes, even valuables. Nothing had been looted. Inside the captain's quarters, they found something even stranger. The belongings of Captain Benjamin Briggs were still neatly arranged. His wife's clothing remained. His young daughter's toys were still in place. It was as if they had simply stepped away for a moment and never returned. Food was still laid out in the galley. Plates partially eaten. The last log entry was dated November 25, 9 days before the ship was discovered. It recorded calm seas and no signs of trouble. So what happened in those 9 days? Where did 10 people vanish to without a trace? Let's rewind. The Mary Celeste had departed from New York Harbor on November 7, 1872. On board were Captain Benjamin Briggs, a respected and experienced seaman, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and a crew of 7 men. The destination was Genoa, Italy. The cargo was over 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol. Highly flammable. Dangerous, but common for transport. Everything about the voyage seemed routine. The ship was seaworthy. The crew was experienced. The weather reports showed no major storms during that period. And yet, something went horribly wrong. When investigators later examined the ship, they found about 3.5 feet of water in the hold. Not unusual for a vessel of that time, but enough to raise concern. The pumps, however, were partially disassembled. This suggested that the crew may have believed the ship was taking on more water than it actually was. Could they have panicked? That's one possibility. But here's where things get even more unsettling. The chronometer and sextant, essential navigation tools, were missing. That implies the crew didn't just vanish randomly. They left deliberately. Possibly in the lifeboat. But why abandon a perfectly seaworthy ship in the middle of the ocean? And if they did leave, what happened next? Before we go deeper into the theories, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to Shadow Files. If you're into real mysteries that still have no answers, you're in the right place. There are more stories like this coming, and you won't want to miss them. Now let's examine the clues. The cargo itself raised suspicions. Some of the barrels were found empty. But not because they were opened. The barrels were made of porous red oak, unlike the others which were made of white oak. This meant the alcohol could slowly leak out as vapor. Imagine being below deck, smelling strong fumes, unsure if an explosion was imminent. It's possible the crew feared that a single spark could destroy the entire ship. Combine that with the faulty pump readings, and you get a terrifying scenario. The crew might have believed the ship was filling with water while also carrying volatile cargo. In that moment, abandoning ship may have seemed like the only option. But here's the problem. The weather during that time wasn't extreme. There were no major storms recorded in the area. And abandoning a ship like that was considered a last resort. Experienced sailors like Captain Briggs wouldn't make that decision lightly. And even if they did, where is the lifeboat? No wreckage was ever found. No bodies. No trace. Another theory suggests a seaquake, an underwater earthquake that could have caused sudden panic. This might explain why the crew fled so quickly, fearing a tsunami or massive wave. But again, there's no solid evidence to support this. Then there's the theory of a sudden waterspout or rogue wave. A massive wall of water that could have struck the ship without warning. This might have frightened the crew into abandoning ship temporarily, perhaps tying the lifeboat to the vessel with a rope. If that rope snapped, the lifeboat would drift away, leaving the ship behind. It's a chilling thought. 10 people, stranded in a small lifeboat, lost in the vast Atlantic, while their perfectly intact ship sails on without them. But there's another angle. One that sounds almost like something out of a thriller. Foul play. Some investigators at the time suspected the crew of the Dei Gratia. They were the ones who found the ship. And maritime law allowed salvagers to claim a reward for recovering abandoned vessels. Could they have staged the entire event? Killed the crew, disposed of the bodies, and then discovered the empty ship? It's a dark theory. But it doesn't hold up well under scrutiny. There was no evidence of violence. No blood. And the crew of the Dei Gratia had no history of criminal behavior. Plus, the reward they received was far less than what they would have gained from a legitimate salvage operation. Still, the suspicion lingered. Then there are the more unconventional theories. Some people believe the Mary Celeste encountered something supernatural. A ghost ship scenario. Others suggest alien abduction. A sudden, unexplainable event that removed every person from the vessel without leaving a trace. While these ideas capture the imagination, they don't offer real answers. What we're left with is a puzzle. A ship in perfect condition, drifting alone. A crew that vanished without a trace. And a story that has haunted the ocean for over 150 years. Even today, maritime experts can't agree on what happened. Every theory explains part of the mystery, but none of them explain everything. Why was the ship abandoned so suddenly? Why was there no attempt to return? And why has no evidence of the crew ever been found? The Mary Celeste became more than just a mystery. It became a legend. A symbol of the unknown. A reminder that even in an age of maps and navigation, there are still places where answers disappear. Some say the truth was lost with the crew. Others believe it's still out there, waiting to be discovered. Maybe one day, new evidence will surface. Maybe technology will uncover something we've missed. Or maybe this is one mystery that will remain unsolved forever. Because sometimes, the ocean doesn't give answers. It just takes them. If this story gave you chills, make sure you subscribe to Shadow Files and turn on notifications. There are more real-life mysteries coming your way, each one darker and more disturbing than the last. And before you go, tell me what you think. Was it panic? A tragic miscalculation? Or something far more sinister? Because the truth is, we may never know what really happened aboard the Mary Celeste. And that's what makes it so terrifying.